Zanzibar. Zanzibar.
We see a typical Botswana warrior, signified by his Botswana shield, very small, designed to cover the chest only. His axe, and of course his spear. This plant is called Botshabelo, which naturally translates to refuge. So between the 1820s and 1830s, we say Botswana kingdoms expanded out of the wars by attracting refugees. So a citizen of this country is called a Mu-Tswana, M-O-Tswana. The plural of that is Botswana. So you don't say Botswanian.
Okay, you say
Botswana.
Okay, Botswana is just
The people of the country.
the people. Okay.
And then the country is Botswana. And the language and culture are Si-Tswana.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to get that.
So we start here mainly because in the early to mid 1820s, Robert Moffat started translating the Bible into Setswana. And during that period as well, our people were settled in South Africa. We are honoring our chiefs. You see a typical Tswana chief sitting on his throne. This throne is made from the skin of a leopard. Leopard skin is a revered item in Southern Africa because
Yes.
a king has to hunt and kill that leopard by himself. He gets help from the regiment, but the final blow to the leopard has to come from the king.
Needs to come from him.
And he cannot injure the head of the leopard. He cannot injure the body of the leopard. He has to hit the leopard on the head only, which is very difficult because it's a very...
Why is that?
So to injure the body or the skin on the body is a bad omen in our culture.
Oh, gotcha.
Most people would say it means you're going to have a difficult chieftainship, or there's going to be poverty, and all kinds of things would typically happen because of that.
Right.
So Bohaka means heroism. Between the 1830s and the 1880s, Dikgosi bravely resisted the Ndebele and the Boer invaders. So Dikgosi means chiefs, the plural. Kosi means one chief, so the plural is D. Put a prefix on that. So throughout this period here, as our ancestors settled here, different tribes came raiding through, but ones of note most mainly were the Ndebele, which were an offshoot of the Zulu tribe. So Shaka Zulu had one general called Mzilikazi. His name means the Great Road. And Mzilikazi was one of the generals mainly sent to raid. So we see a chief now, not on his throne, but with his arm in protest, not high in protest. Sireletso means protection. Between the 1880s and 1890s, Botswana had different ideas about the Protectorate. So after the wars in the mid-1800s, the European powers decided to stop fighting for Africa, and they had a meeting in Berlin, and they decided everybody should carve out a piece of the pie. And
You talking about the Berlin Conference? Okay, go ahead.
So Mozambique and Angola were taken by the Portuguese.
Right.
Of course. British held northern and southern Rhodesia at the time, and a bit of South Africa. And then we had the Germans in Namibia.
Right.
However, since the British were partly in South Africa, they had to protect their trade route, which ran from South Africa through what we now call Botswana to Zimbabwe, Zambia.
Go
And
ahead.
the idea was that they should have a trade route all the way to Cairo.
To Cairo.
Cairo.
Okay.
And that was the idea of one Cecil John Rhodes, who then approached the government and said, the British government that is, and said, hey, there's this piece of land, Botswana land, you all are taking care of it, why don't I take it? And everybody was like, wait, what? What? How do you say? An outstation of a colony.
Okay.
So even during the Protectorate stage, they never had any real offices in Botswana. They never had any of the British authorities living on the Protectorate itself.
Okay.
They were all based in, the nearest one was in Mafeking, in South Africa.
In South Africa.
And so of course, we always had elements of a colony, but we never had the full colonization take place.
Okay.
And so the three chiefs actually went up to Britain and said, hey, British government, we prefer you guys to sea soldier on roads. So why don't you stay? Can we make a deal? When they got there, the colonial secretary was not interested, Joseph Chamberlain, and he said, if you have any calls about this issue with sea soldier on roads, take it up with Rose. I'm going on holiday.
Wow.
That was probably one of the best things to happen to Botswana because the London Missionary Society, which was run by people like Robert Moffat in Africa, David Livingstone and many other missionaries, John Mackenzie, the three chiefs had the men had to go and work in South Africa in the mines to pay tax to keep the British here in Botswana. And that's why we now see a woman. Itsoko means endurance. And of course, you talk about endurance, you have to talk about women. So while the men were away, the women had to now multitask, taking care of the families, taking care of our fields. So Botswana land was also a misspelling. It was supposed to be Botswana land. But Botswana land was poor, times were tough, but communities built schools and dams. So while the men were away, the women had to take care of the families, the fields, as I said. And between the 1900s and 1930s, now the men were there, people are getting exposed to a different world altogether. One of the most influential missionaries in the country was David Livingstone. He had taught our people how to build dams. And so the people actually built dams, and it wasn't just for the sake of stopping water and having a large body of water, but the people actually learned how to put a tap onto a dam. So the first place that was done, it was in a village called Kanye, like Kanye West, but Kanye.
Oh, okay.
There's a dam there called Gaborone Dam, still in existence today. First place where they put what we call a standpipe on, so people just open a tap and get water. So these communities built dams all the way from Kumagwane to Makuduman. The model was followed, carried on throughout the country.